what would happen if the right people clearly understood who you are, what you were good at, and how you can help them? Just think about that for a second. If the opportunities you actually want just started finding you, simply because people already knew exactly what you stood for.
It's a really powerful premise, right? Because it completely flips that traditional script of, constantly hunting for opportunities.
Totally.
And it gets right to the heart of how we operate today. Because whether we like it or not, your reputation doesn't just exist in the physical world anymore. I mean, when someone searches your name or visits your social media profile or even just reads a comment you left on some industry article, they are actively forming an opinion about you.
Yeah, they really are. And that brings us to the mission for today's deep dive. We are unpacking a huge stack of just incredibly insightful materials from Victory with Ash. Specifically, we're looking at their Master Knowledge Base and Episode 12 of the Foundation series.
Right, the one that explores personal branding and social media.
Exactly. Now, to be clear, right out of the gate, this is not a marketing lesson.
Definitely not.
This is not a guide to like hacking the algorithm or going viral or becoming some self-appointed guru.
Far from it. I mean, the focus here is entirely on value creation, not vanity metrics.
Right, because our goal today is to help you, the listener, really figure out how to intentionally communicate your identity, your expertise, your values, and your contribution. Because when you do that authentically, you create trust. And trust is the actual currency that creates real opportunity.
100%. Which, brings up a tension that so many of us feel. We exist in this weird dual reality, the offline professional and the online avatar. This raises an important question for you listening right now. Are you intentionally building that online reputation, or are you just allowing the internet to build it for you?
Oh, that's a great point.
Because nature abhors a vacuum. If you aren't defining who you are, the algorithms and just the random fragments of your digital footprint, they'll just do it for you.
Yeah, and the source material actually tackles that tension head on. It addresses what it calls the tragedy of the invisible expert.
Oh, yeah. That's a huge one.
I know we have listeners right now who are sitting on years, maybe decades even, of hard-earned skills. You have incredibly valuable knowledge, but, well, you feel totally invisible in your industry.
It's an incredibly common frustration. And honestly, it's a painful one. You see people with, half your skill getting twice the opportunities.
It's the worst feeling.
It really is. But that frustration usually stems from a fundamental misunderstanding of what a personal brand actually is and how it functions.
I have to admit, I used to cringe when I heard the term personal branding. It just, it always sounded like showing off,
Right, yeah.
like faking this flawless, glossy lifestyle where you're just constantly crushing it. Or the other trap is thinking, well, I don't have 50,000 followers. I'm not an influencer.
So this doesn't apply to me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Most serious professionals actively hate the idea of self-promotion.
They do. And to illustrate why that mindset is actually holding you back, let's look at a scenario straight from the Victory with Ash text. Imagine two professionals. Both have exactly 10 years of experience.
Okay, 10 years.
Both are highly skilled, and both solve incredibly complex problems for their clients every single day.
So a completely level playing field in terms of pure competence.
Precisely. But the first professional translates their knowledge into a public format. They share useful lessons they've learned. They break down complex industry shifts online. They answer people's questions in forums.
They're just putting themselves out there.
Right, and they aren't bragging. They're just sharing their actual practical experiences. And over time, people start to recognize their name. When a specific problem arises in their industry, people naturally think of them.
And the second professional.
The second professional remains entirely invisible online. I mean, they have the exact same level of skill, the exact same 10 years of hard-won experience, but outside of their immediate physical circle, nobody has a clue what they can actually do.
They just assume their work would speak for itself.
Exactly. But the harsh reality the text points out is that skill alone does not guarantee visibility.
Man, okay, let's unpack this. Because the idea that good work speaks for itself is such a deeply ingrained belief, it almost feels unfair that the invisible expert loses out.
It does feel unfair.
But reading through the materials, I realized my perspective was just wrong. I was thinking about it like this. Think of your expertise like an incredibly powerful database, right?
Yeah.
You have all this complex knowledge, historical data, and problem-solving capability just stored up in your head.
A vast repository of value.
Yes. But a database is totally useless to the outside world if it doesn't have an API. like an application programming interface.
Oh, I love that.
A personal brand is just your API. It's the translation layer.
Yeah.
Or it's like having a massive warehouse full of incredible goods, but absolutely no storefront and no sign on the door.
Right. No one knows you're open for business.
Exactly. If you don't build that interface or put up that sign, nobody can access your value. I mean, the source highlights this perfectly. Your expertise creates potential value. Your personal brand helps people discover that value.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it. The mechanism of a personal brand isn't about inflating your worth. It's about translating it.
Right. It takes the ego completely out of the equation.
It really does. It is not about you trying to prove you're awesome. It is about making your awesomeness accessible to the people who genuinely need your help.
Which means we need to completely redefine the concept.
We do. It is not a fake personality. According to the text, a strong personal brand is the intentional process of communicating a very specific equation.
And what's the equation?
It's your identity, plus your expertise, plus your values, plus your communication, plus consistency.
Identity, expertise, values, communication, and consistency.
Okay.
But if it's just a matter of communicating those 5 things, why do so many of us, freeze up?
Oh, the blank page syndrome.
Yeah, I can tell you I've stared at a blank LinkedIn post for 45 minutes, overthinking every single word, only to just delete it and close the laptop.
We've all been there.
The Master Knowledge Base points out that the real hurdle isn't a lack of intelligence. Right.
Right. What's fascinating here is Ashmafar's core philosophy on why people fail to grow in this area. He points out that growth is rarely an information problem.
Because we have Google. We have everything.
Exactly. We have unlimited information in our pockets. Growth is an implementation problem.
Right.
Most people struggle because they lack clarity, structure, mentorship, and accountability. It's really an environment and habit issue.
So to bridge that gap between knowing what to do and actually doing it, the text introduces the Victory Framework. And it's built on 3 foundational principles: rise, reset, and refocus.
Let's examine the psychology behind those, because they really are the mechanism for getting out of that invisible expert trap.
Okay, let's do it.
The first principle is rise. This is fundamentally about taking responsibility. It's the psychological shift from being a passive consumer of your industry to an active participant.
It's deciding to stop settling for less than your potential and choosing action over excuses.
Yes. But rise is just the decision. The second principle, reset, is where I think people really get tripped up. The text says reset is a deliberate realignment. It's removing limiting beliefs and destructive habits that keep you invisible.
Okay, wait, let me push back on this on behalf of the listener. Let's unpack this. How does resetting our habits actually translate into what we post on social media?
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm spending an hour scrolling my industry feed on Twitter or LinkedIn, reading what my competitors are doing, isn't that just market research? How do I know the difference between a bad habit and just, staying informed?
That is the exact trap the text warns about. There is a massive psychological difference between active curation and passive consumption.
Oh, interesting.
Passive consumption feels productive, but it's often just procrastination disguised as research. The habit that makes you invisible is consuming without ever contributing.
Right.
So to execute a reset, you have to acknowledge that you cannot build a better online future while carrying the specific habits like endless scrolling or second-guessing your own expertise that created your current invisibility.
But resetting a bad habit leaves a vacuum. If I stop passively scrolling for an hour a day, I suddenly have an hour of free time. If I don't give that time a very specific job, I am just going to fall right back into the old habit.
Is that where the third principle, refocus, comes in?
Exactly. Nature and your brain abhors a vacuum. Refocus is about directing that newly reclaimed energy toward what actually matters.
Because modern platforms are literally engineered to distract you.
By behavioral psychologists, yes. If you are distracted, your brand will be confusing and reactive. If you are focused, your brand will be clear and proactive.
So with that mindset locked in, we need rules of engagement. The source outlines 10 principles of value-driven communication.
10 of them, yeah.
And reading through them, I was just struck by how they completely bypass the traditional idea of marketing. The mechanism behind almost all of them is serving others, not selling yourself.
Because service is what actually influences human behavior. Let's look at principles 1 and 2. Know what you stand for and choose a clear area of value.
The text warns against trying to be a generalist. If your feed is a mix of, business advice, crypto theories, your marathon training, and random motivational quotes, people simply cannot categorize you.
You become the proverbial jack of all trades, which the internet just reads as expert in nothing.
Exactly.
But how do you actually find that clear area of value without feeling like you're boxing yourself in?
You find it at the intersection of your knowledge, your passion, and your ability to help someone solve a specific problem. You discard the broad topics to become a precise solution.
Okay, so give me an example.
Instead of saying, I talk about tech and business, you narrow it down to, I help people use practical technology to work smarter.
Oh, that's much better.
Yeah.
It is a clear, instantly understandable area of value.
And once you have that clarity, principle 4 kicks in. And I think this is the most powerful psychological mechanism in the whole document, create value before asking for attention.
Man, this is where the amateur versus professional divide really shows up online.
It really does. Amateurs jump straight to, buy my course or hire my agency.
It's exhausting. It
Mhm.
triggers our mental spam filters immediately. But when the text says create value first, it's tapping into the psychology of reciprocity, isn't it?
Precisely. If you teach a concept from your paid course for free, or you solve a nagging industry problem in a short video, you aren't just proving your competence, you are triggering a deeply human response.
We want to give back to people who help us.
Exactly. When someone receives unexpected value, they naturally want to reciprocate with their trust, their attention, and eventually their business. You prove your value before you ever ask for a transaction.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Principle 5 is share your knowledge. But the text highlights an incredibly liberating fact. You do not need to know everything before you start sharing.
Oh, this is huge.
I think this is the ultimate cure for imposter syndrome. I'll give you a real example from my own life. A few years ago, I was terrified to publish a breakdown on a new communication framework, mostly because I wasn't the absolute foremost global authority on the subject. I felt like a total fraud even trying.
Which is how most highly competent people feel. It's the Dunning-Kruger effect in action. The more you know, the more you realize you don't know, so you stay quiet.
Exactly. But I posted it anyway, not as some supreme guru, but framed as, hey, here's the struggle I had this week, here is the messy way I tried to fix it, and here's what I actually learned.
And let me guess, it worked.
It was wildly successful because it was human. The text validates this entirely. Your experiences, your specific lessons, and especially your mistakes are highly valuable content.
Yeah, you don't have to be the master. You just have to be the helpful guide who is one step ahead of the person you're trying to help.
That is such a relief.
And that naturally builds the foundation for principles 6 and 7, authenticity and consistency.
Authenticity is a buzzword, though.
It is, and it's often misunderstood online as oversharing your deepest private traumas. That's not what this means. In this framework, authenticity simply means being honest about what you know and equally honest about what you are still learning.
And consistency, because consistency beats random perfection every single time. I used to think I needed to write the ultimate definitive essay every single time I posted.
A super common trap, but the text is explicit here. 3 useful, imperfect posts a week will always beat spending a month overthinking 10 perfect posts, dropping them all at once, and then just vanishing for a quarter.
Right.
The psychology of trust requires reliable frequency. One excellent post is a fluke. Consistent posts create a reputation.
Yeah. And when you are creating those consistent posts, Principle 8 advises using stories. And it makes total sense. Our brains don't remember bullet points, they remember narratives.
They really do.
But what I appreciate about the Victory with Ash materials, it doesn't just say tell stories. It gives you the exact structure to do it effectively. Problem, struggle, discovery, lesson, action.
It is a foolproof structural arc. It works because it builds empathy before it tries to build authority. Well, you introduce the problem and your personal struggle with it, which makes you relatable. Then you share the discovery and the lesson, which establishes your expertise. And finally, you give the reader an action to take. You've essentially turned your own past friction into a tool to accelerate someone else's success.
Okay, so the philosophy and the principles are just phenomenal. But if I'm a listener sitting at my desk right now, principles can still feel a bit abstract. We need a structured way to actually put pen to paper.
The text provides exactly that transition with a personal brand clarity framework. It's a 5-part exercise. And actually, if you're listening to this, think about your answers right now as we go through them.
Yes, definitely do this with us.
It forces you to distill everything we've talked about into single sentences. It starts with, I am. Who are you professionally? Second is, I know W. What specific knowledge or skills do you possess?
Okay, I am and I know.
Third is IHLP. Who exactly is the audience you want to serve? Fourth is I stand for. What values guide your decisions? And fifth is I create. What transformation do you actually deliver?
These sound deceptively simple. but getting them down to one sentence each is a brutal editing exercise.
It really is.
Let's look at the tech educator example from the text to see how these interlocks in reality.
Perfect.
So, I am a technology-focused educator and growth mentor, I know W. Practical AI, automation, and communication, IALA. People who want to use modern technology to improve their career opportunities, I stand for integrity, continuous growth, and responsible tech use. And I create practical systems that help people learn and make an impact.
Now notice what happens when you combine those. It completely eliminates the guesswork.
Oh, I see.
If that tech educator gets an idea to post about, say, cryptocurrency speculation, they can look at their framework and realize, wait, this doesn't fit my I stand for or my I create statements. It serves as a filter.
It's a compass. And once you know your direction, the source provides a 6-step content creation funnel to actually structure the posts. I love this because it solves the blank page syndrome immediately.
Oh yeah, walk us through it.
The steps are hook, problem, insight, example, action, and invitation.
Let's analyze why this funnel works on the reader's psychology, using the example provided in the text.
All right, so you start with a hook to break their scrolling pattern. Most people don't have a knowledge problem. They have an implementation problem.
Catchy.
Then you twist the knife slightly with the problem. They consume endless information but never apply it. You deliver the insight, the aha moment. Knowledge only becomes valuable when it's converted into physical action.
Right.
You ground it with an example, take one single lesson, and apply it within 24 hours. You give them a clear action tell. Choose one thing you learned today and implement it right now. And you close with an invitation. Continue your structured growth journey with Victory with Ash.
If we break down the mechanics of why that works, it bypasses the reader's defense mechanisms.
How do you mean?
Well, it doesn't ask for attention. It diagnoses a pain point they are actively feeling. It provides a micro-solution, and only after delivering that value does it offer an invitation. It is entirely oriented around the reader's benefit.
So we have the mindset, we understand the psychology, we have the clarity compass and the content funnel. The listener is technically armed and ready to start.
They are.
But before they do, the text issues a very serious warning about the environment they are about to enter.
This is Principle 10, and it acts as the ultimate guardrail. Social media is a tool, not your identity. It is a distribution mechanism for your value. It should never become a scoreboard for your self-worth.
Because the platforms are designed to make you feel like your worth is directly tied to your engagement metrics. It's so easy to fall into that trap.
It is, which is why the text makes a critical mathematical distinction. Followers do not automatically equal influence. Views do not automatically equal trust. And virality does not automatically equal impact.
Wow, say that again. Virality doesn't equal impact.
Exactly. If you are a B2B logistics consultant and you get 2 million views doing a trending dance on TikTok, those views have zero impact on your actual professional goals. You have optimized for attention, not trust. You must focus on value, consistency, and relationships.
I'm so glad they emphasize that. It ties right into the common pitfalls they warn about. Things like buying followers to look more important, which instantly destroys your credibility the second anyone actually looks at your engagement ratio.
Or trying to impress everyone and changing your niche every week.
Right. Or the trap we mentioned earlier of waiting for perfect equipment. The illusion that you need a $3,000 cinema camera and a studio to share a valuable thought. The value is in the insight, not the lens.
Exactly. Perfectionism is just procrastination wearing a tuxedo.
Huh. I love that.
Yeah.
So to get you out of that analysis paralysis, the source issues a 7-day challenge. And I want to emphatically issue this challenge to you listening right now to make getting started feel achievable.
Let's hear the 7 days.
Okay, day 1 is clarity. Just write down what you want to be known for. Day 2 is audience. Define exactly who you want to help. Day 3 is profile. Improve your online presence so it matches your direction.
Right, so you're just doing internal work first.
Exactly. Day 4 is knowledge. Share one educational post based on what you know. Day 5 is story. Share one meaningful lesson from your own experience.
Love that.
Day 6 is value. Create something that solves a specific problem for your audience. And finally, day 7 is consistency. Sit down and plan your next week so you don't break the momentum.
You know, if we connect this to the bigger picture, personal branding really isn't pretending to be important.
No, not at all.
It's making your real value easier for the right people to discover. Your knowledge, your specific experiences, your scars, and your stories, those are the raw materials. Your only responsibility is to communicate them clearly, consistently, and with integrity.
And the best part is, you do not have to do it alone. If you want to continue developing these skills, communication, leadership, business building with structured mentorship and actual accountability, you can join the Victory with Ash community.
It's a great space for that.
Yeah, we've put a referral link right down in the description of this deep dive for you to check out. So I want to leave you with a direct challenge. Does the way you present yourself online right now match the person you want to become? If not, take one action today to close that gap. Start day one of the challenge right now.
And as you do, I want to leave you with a lingering thought based on a quote from the text. Think about the digital footprint you are leaving behind today. Long after a conversation ends or you leave a room, your online presence continues to speak for you 24/7. What exactly is it saying while you're asleep?